well, we weren't playing anybody though. But hey, two shutouts in a row.
Don't play nobody this week either.
No. We ready? All right. Have we heard from Sheila? Sheila gonna be here? I haven't heard from Sheila. But 7:01, I'm gonna call
That's
her.
her now.
Yeah, she comes.
We heard her pitter patter.
Perfect timing, perfect timing. Good evening, good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I now call to order our September council meeting. I ask you to join me for a moment of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together yet again tonight. Thank you for this wonderful community. We're especially grateful for the wonderful weekend we had here in Blackstone. We're hoping that will springboard us to even greater things in the months ahead. Father, bless this council, bless these citizens who take the time out of their schedule to come address and observe the local government. Let us all agree tonight, no matter what is discussed, we do so in a manner that's pleasing to you. We ask for these things in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
We now invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank everybody for coming out tonight. At great risk, I say the agenda looks rather light, but that's usually the kiss of death. We have no advertised or scheduled public hearings. You have your minutes from the August 19th and August 21st continue meeting. Council, what's your pleasure?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve. Any questions or clarifications? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. But we have one scheduled visitor tonight. That is Lewis Johnson. I see Mr. Johnson. Is Mr. Johnson here?
Back.
You
He
look back.
didn't have his glasses on.
He looking right at you.
I don't have my glasses on, so I was like, okay. Would you like to address council tonight, or? Yeah. Come on. This is your time. I'm gonna do a little scan of the room, make sure I've got everybody. All right, we know who everybody is.
I
Good.
don't recognize him with his glasses.
Got his teeth on there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I come before you all today to request permission to do a march against racism in the town of Blackstone, Nottoway County. The march will begin at the park or either at the where the old Pizza Hut used to be at. We'll start from there.
Okay.
We'll end up at the town square in front of the love sign. In front of the town square, the big sign that got love, that's where we'll end up at. We can no longer pretend like racism doesn't exist. Therefore, on this day, as African Americans or in other ways, will not be disrespected, treated as second-class citizens, or will not be perceived as if they get something, they're only going to tear it up. Don't even think about the justice system. We are treated poorly when it comes to our counterparts with the same offense. We are convicted more and do more time than our counterparts for the same crime. This is why this march against racism is so important. We have to show our younger generation that it's okay to come together and everybody should be treated equally, not by the color of their skin. But it has to start with us. If we won't change, how will they change? If we don't change the way the African Americans comes out and be treated before other peoples, we're not gonna get nowhere. As African Americans, we come before councils, we are treated differently. We're requesting for a project. We're either told you might be able to do it, or we have to wait. But when the white race come before you all, they get the green light. I personally have experienced a different treatment from town council numerous of times. Have seen it against other African American citizens also. Therefore, this change had to start with you, the town council member. We elect you in office to be fair to all citizens, not one particular group or race. We see a lot of that going on. We will no longer sit back and let everybody dictate to us what's best for us. Those days are gone. We pay tax just like everybody else. We should have a say-so in our tax money where it is being spent also. It's unfair to us when we disagree on certain matters. The first thing our white race say is let's forget the past and move forward. First of all, you can never forget the past. And how come when it comes to moving forward, we have to be the ones that we have to be the ones that say we got to move forward, or we the ones that say put it behind us? No, it shouldn't be that way. How can you call that moving forward when it's just one-sided? Our peoples have become so complacent in doing everything that you say, it has become a routine to some of them. I'm here to let you know that those days will no longer exist from this day forward. We will be treated equally. Some of the African American community that is saying the Army is good for the community, but it will bring us together as one. Please stop saying this because it's very misleading. I've never seen anything that was built to keep African Americans out. It's a good way to bring a community together. But I forgot, we're not only, we are the only ways that should accept anything that right ways say because we have been doing it for so long. It's okay, but it's not okay. Because they are going to use our taxpayer money, use the low to moderate income money for grants to remodel the Armory. We are not getting what we want, a recreation center, but they're getting what they want. That's not fair to us. I had showed the past council members a petition with over 300 names against the Armory. That didn't mean anything to them. The only way we can get their attention is to take legal actions against the town. If the Armory get remodeled in any shape, way, or form without adding a recreation community center with the pool and indoor track, a lawsuit against the town will be filed. I strongly believe once a judge hears all the facts and how this town is racist towards African Americans or has been racist towards African Americans, we will have a strong case. A business was forced to close because they was killing to African Americans. You will be surprised what other people might say. Just like a person said on my Facebook page, they won't build us anything new because we will tear it up. That goes to show you how some people perceive us. This is sad, but he was only repeating what he has been hearing. But we are the ones that need to change. Wow. All that we want is to be treated equally. We know that we can't change racism overnight, but we can start with this march, letting everyone know that there's only one race in this world, and that is human race. There's no skin color. We all bleed the same. So please come out and support the change for racism. Everyone in this room should all want race treated the same. Especially the pastors of every church in Blackstone and Nottoway County should be encouraging their members to walk in this march against racism. The pastors should be in the front, leading the way. All races are being discriminated against. Let's put a stop to this. Come together as one race, singing together, praying together, marching together, and stop. What better way to bring the community together? I had reached out to the Army group. We had a meeting. I'm not against the Army group. I thought we had a very productive meeting. And it was agreed the only way that my supporters and I was to come aboard if they was to add the community, add the recreation part to the Armory project. Because as we is paying taxes, all of us deserve to be treated equally. Our money is just as good as their money, and you can't split it up when it's time to do the work on the Armory. So everybody agreed on that part right there. But I feel like we is getting left out. I know you all gonna say it can cost a lot, but how come we the ones that African Americans always gotta take the back seat? If you can't do one project, if you only can do one and can't do the other, don't do neither one. You don't even need to vote because we're gonna be fighting this stuff in the court system for a long time. We can't sit back and let one group get more than we get. It's not fair.
When is Mr. Johnson? When is the march?
I forgot that. I'm setting that for the this 27th of October. It will be around 1:30 after church. And thank you, Mayor, for saying you will show up.
I plan to come, but then you and I talked to the phone. I have to be clear. When you talked to me on the phone a few days ago, you said this march was about love and unity, and there was no attachment to the Armory. What?
Now, this march ain't got nothing to do with the Army.
Okay, I want to make sure on that, okay.
This march
I
is
am all
about bringing.
for-
This march is about bringing the peoples together. This armory stuff, I just had that right in there. But this march, will nobody be out there making no derogatory remarks towards neither race? We is out here to try to bring the community together. We is divided, and it's sad. We can't agree on nothing. This ain't got nothing to do with the army. Our justice system is not up to par. And if you can't talk about racism, you're never gonna correct racism.
I agree with that.
If we keep running from it, how are we gonna change it?
I agree with that.
And our younger generation, it got to start with them. We can't change the old people, but we can change the younger generation. And that's who we got to start with.
I'm encouraged by what I see in the younger generation, to be honest with you. When I'm encouraged, I see children, people 30 and under especially 20 and under, living up to the vision that you have espoused today. I certainly share with you, if you look at, I look at drug cases we report in our newspaper over the last 25 years. If you've got the right lawyer and the right access, you can get a pot possession charge knocked down and someone else can go to jail for 8 months, 6 months. It's gotten a little bit better, but members of council, does he
You
need,
want the street closed?
does he need?
When I met with the chief, I talked to the chief, and he said just let him know about a week in advance. And if he might have to close that street, he'll have enough
I
officers.
mean, we have to approve it, so just,
Where's it going?
You're coming on down Main Street from the.
I say C Park just to give you more latitude.
Yeah, all right,
C Park.
Park to the town square.
I move that we allow and close the street if needed, whatever you need to do with the chief, but just go ahead and close it in case on October 27th from 1:30 to 2:30.
So moved.
All right, I will give the second to Ms. Jones. To Mr. Nash's motion, any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That's October 27th, starting at 1:30. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Is it 1:30 or 1 p.m.?
1:30, that gave everybody time to get out of church and stuff.
Just talk to the chief about if you need the street or whatever. I'd say you probably wouldn't need it.
Hopefully my church is done by then.
Okay.
I see Mr. Tom Taylor. Mr. Tom, you would come forward?
Yeah, why not? As Mr. Johnson was talking about Facebook and the Army, I received this glorious Facebook article. Mr. Miller got it, he passed it to you. I didn't know I was a person of interest. A 3-page interest. I mean, I asked the town attorney, can I sue somebody on Facebook? But that's all right. I probably got more money in my toenails than they got, anyway. So I just want to appreciate being on Facebook. I want to thank Mark Zuckerberg for sending it to me. And just like Samuel Jackson told Jamie Foxx and Django, that upped it. Now you fill in the blank. But thank you for the.
We all have been
Yeah, thank
criticized from
you.
time to time on Facebook.
Thank you for this Facebook, 3-page, because I ain't shake no hand. That's one. And the other one said if he was a politician, I wouldn't vote for him. They probably vote for Obama, and I'm darker than him. I know he didn't vote for him.
But just for the record, Mr.
Hold on, man. Hold on, man. And this last page, woo, this was something. He come get food and take it home. I ain't know I was a person. That's all right. That's all right. I want to thank this person for this Facebook thing. They ain't mention my name, but we know who it was, right, Mel? We know who it was.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. It's always a pleasure. I see.
The guy in the problem come out 111 South Harris Street. I got a present for you.
I saw a hand from Mr. Bobby Thomas. And and Bobby, you can come on. Just for the record, from what you've handed out,
You messed with the wrong Negro.
there's no one from the council that made any derogatory comments toward you, correct?
No.
I just want to make, just for the record, I don't want anybody in the audience to wonder that someone up here made a derogatory.
If I throw a rock, I gonna hit somebody and they gonna squeal.
Understood. Mr. Bobby Thomas, yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Last Wednesday, when y'all had the closed session and allowed others to come back in, I was a little perplexed, especially I know with the young couple that also was here and with Bev from Chamber of Commerce. With us having events at the Armory and you discussed the issue of the insurance in closed session, We came back in and you voted. That kind of left us in limbo as to what is going to happen for the young lady's venue as well as for mine if it ends up with the rain.
I can answer that very easily. This council's last motion regarding the wedding reception was a 7-0 vote to allow Daniel Falwell and Stacy Krustik to have their reception on October 12th. That is a matter of record, and that motion still stands. There was no vote taken when we came back from closed session. There's no secret apparently in Blackstone. I was at Arts and Crafts all weekend. There were concerns raised by the insurance people. Not so much the building. There's really no news on the building so much as the fact that just our insurance policy in some ways may not be there might be some concerns there without going into details. But as far as your wine festival, you had a permit that was approved by this council to use the Armory as a rain venue on October 26th.
Okay.
And that still stands by council. I believe tonight legal counsel wants to confer with us in closed session about those matters and any legal repercussions I have. I want to let you know just my position because I got a big mouth. I think we should honor our commitments through October, and then anything after October, I don't think we should be taking on new requests. I think there might be a reasonable argument to be made to secure the building with some common sense, not shutter it and mothball it. But I don't think we should be letting proms scheduled for next spring and that sort of thing. That's my opinion. Members of council, am I correct? Are we going to discuss that in closed session apparently? Attorney Bacon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's just my opinion. Now, council could vote tonight and do something entirely different.
Like I said, I think we all were perplexed that night as like, what would happen? We
Right.
never heard anything. So
Right.
thank you.
Well, then the reason you didn't hear anything is there's been no motion to overturn those votes.
Okay.
You weren't the only one perplexed. It was getting the information that pretty much perplexed everybody.
I don't want to perplex either. I got on Facebook.
Anyone else tonight, before we get into our rapid fire part of the agenda? We're just going to roll through this agenda tonight. I see we have payment of bills, and our Madam Clerk we have Madam Treasurer here, and our first batch is $774,116.48. These are checks not yet approved.
Move to approve.
Mr. Nash has moved. Is there a second?
So moved.
Mr. Miller has seconded. Any further discussion? Because of the amount over $10,000, I ask for a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 7-0. The second batch of bills broken down by department, they total $212,036.66. I entertain a motion to approve those as well.
So moved.
Ms. Thompson has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll give Colonel Tom the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with President Thompson.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. We have our fire chief, and there's some really good news in the fire chief's report.
That's news.
Well, I saw Truck 9 being back in service.
Well, no, we're hoping Truck 9 gets
Oh, yeah.
We're definitely still waiting on the grant. They've been announcing every Friday new awards.
Really?
So we're waiting. We haven't heard a reject letter, so we're just standing by on it. Regretfully, once again, bigger places like Fairfax, Loudoun, Virginia Beach are getting awards, and I think the little ones are left screaming and hollering. But guess it's all in who you pay to write the grant.
Yeah.
Our boot drive was on Saturday. It was once again a great success. We brought in right under $12,000, and from 8 o'clock to 1:30. And like I said, every penny counts. We had over $550 in change alone, so it was a really successful event. We're still working out the financials with the truck pull, and then we were also a part of the Steve Ferguson golf tournament that day. So our members were pretty much out from 7 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock that evening, doing fundraising all day.
Impressive. Is that a record for the boot drive? That's the first one?
No. 2016 we did over 12, and I want to say 2001 we did almost 14.
Well, 2001, that would be definitely a
Yeah.
big year.
So definitely, we normally range 8 to 10 is
Great.
the normal range for us.
Very good.
Open house is coming around the corner, October 6th, 1 o'clock at the fire station. Deputy Chief Bears is working with the primary school, trying to get some coloring contests going on and fire truck rides for the kids. It's,
There will be fire truck rides, but it'll be the cab, right? If you said fire truck, okay,
correct.
gotcha.
just like we do annually, requesting permission to move forward with doing bids for turnout gear. We tried to get an increase in our budget to 25 to accommodate the increase in cost, but we're still at the 20 range, and we'll work within our means to accommodate. All turnout gear has a lifespan, and of course, we could keep wearing it, but if somebody gets hurt, I think the liability associated with that is probably not the best for the town. So we try to keep an even rotation to ensure everybody's turnout gear is within certification date. And with that, we got the dryer also on the grant. That dryer cost $6,500 for the turnout gear dryer, and the grant was $4,000. So that was a nice offset.
I moved to allow the fire department to start seeking bids for the turnout gear up to 20, well, seek bids.
Is there a second?
So moved.
This is just to seek bids. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Guys have it.
And we're still shooting to attack you in the 2021 budget year for an engine. We have a committee working together. Hopefully, our dream is we get a ladder truck at the same time and we could get a good deal on 2 apparatus at one time. But we're still moving forward. We're trying to replace an engine that's 33 years old. The government really pushes to have anything over 15 years old put on a backline status, and everything 20 years or older be taken out of service. So we're definitely pushing or exceeded the life expectancy of this engine, in addition to other apparatus that are well over their life expectancy as well.
Average cost of an engine now is running,
600,000.
that's probably the low end.
Emailed the mayor and town manager of a small town, just bought an engine for 800,000. And it didn't have many bells and whistles on it whatsoever. So want to say one of the reps told me that they expect a 5 to 10% increase in cost every year.
But these regulations, we always mention NFPA, they're not biblical or legal. They're just recommendations for now. Because you would bankrupt small towns all across this. I ride by the McKinney Fire Station, all the other small towns, you'd bankrupt them.
Correct.
They wouldn't have fire trucks.
It definitely is a recommendation, but going against,
Not good for your insurance.
It's not good.
It's just not good. It's not good.
How old is is 5, the next,
5 we got in 2004, I believe.
that one's pushing the 20-year mark.
And
Not too long now.
Rescue 10's a 1991, so.
Okay, members of council? I mean, if somebody got a plan ahead, I'll give the town manager and staff props. I mean, when they hear you, they listen, and they start formulating the budget and try to start putting money aside.
And still trying to work with the county.
Yes, I was asked over a month ago, would I be interested in attending an EMS meeting? I said I would be interested very much in attending a meeting. I've not yet been notified of a meeting, but I'm patient. I know they've got dumpsters to worry about, so that's been the biggest thing in Southside Virginia.
I think you're gonna see the mutual aid calls with us going that way are gonna start increasing to help Gruen Burke
Right.
eventually.
What have you heard, Chief? I don't want to pick on another, I know you don't want to pick on another agency too, but it was said publicly, and I really expected there to be a response, but I was told publicly as were the citizens of Nottaway County that when Fast C opens, Nottaway Emergency Squad, which gets run to death, is going to have to commit 3 ambulances a day, and they can't leave Fast C. So if I have chest pains, it's got to be another duty crew. We only have 5 ambulances in the county. What's going on with that?
What I have been told has also been the rumor mill.
Okay.
I have not heard anything officially from
Okay.
Nottaway County.
Okay.
But my understanding that they are required to provide 3 ambulances out there. A range cannot be hot without an ambulance out there. And they've hired staff in to have ambulances out there, and they're supposed to get more ambulances.
Okay.
They're subcontracted through another company.
Okay. When I heard
So
that,
currently, yes, there's only 2 for the whole county.
and they get run, I kid you not, Heritage Hall, if you have a scanner, Heritage Hall, Hickory Hill Retirement Community, I guarantee you on any given week, between 7 and 12 calls at those facilities.
And that, they run over 2,000 calls a year in Nottaway County for EMS, so
Yep.
they're extremely busy agency.
It's just a quality of life issue that our citizens, I mean, we just have to be aware of it. Nothing, and it's not cheap.
And there's also a fire service out there. The fire service is covering the range, the driving range when it's hot, but has nothing to do with the buildings. That's still our responsibility, town of Blackstone.
Like today, there was a call for a
Fire alarm.
alarm at the fitness center for Fast City.
Oh, was it?
So
Did we get called for that? That was that Pickett Fire Department.
That's us.
that's
That's
us.
y'all?
Pickett doesn't go.
Yeah, everything Fast C is us. except-
That's fascinating. A lot of people don't understand. So the $430 million facility being built at Pickett, if there's a fire alarm, the first call is not the Fort Pickett Fire Rescue, it's Blackstone Volunteer Fire Department. Isn't that is that just me? Or is that fascinating?
Why is that?
Because this mayor and several other people, we so embrace Fast C as we should have. We should have said, now wait a minute, what are going to be the impacts on infrastructure, like Dinwiddie Avenue, and the looks like a volcano erupted over here at North Nottaway and
Yeah.
Brown Street. We just didn't plan as far as what the burden might be on infrastructure. And the EMS, I just assumed with Uncle Sam coming and spending $500 million, I figured they'd bring an ambulance or two. I mean, I just figured that. And I think maybe Congresswoman Spanberger, I've talked to her this weekend, we need to probably get that iron turned on and get going.
I think initially they had a significant medical event out there,
They had a death out there.
and the response time of a volunteer to Fast C, I mean, you're looking.
Couldn't find it. Couldn't find where the victim was.
10, 15 minutes to get out there, and that pretty much excludes your chances of living. So having an ambulance there definitely is beneficial for them, but it's certainly nothing a volunteer can accommodate.
And don't get me wrong, we're certainly glad Fast C came here, but in the euphoria of that money they were spending and the jobs they were creating, I've never encountered anything like this. You know, I just thought basically it was going to be milk and honey, and there are some good things coming down the pike as far as lodging and housing facilities to meet the demand, but it's not going to be without a cost on local
It's
government.
just growing pains, and hopefully, like you said, we'll see the revenues increase due to jobs created and hotels and stuff like that, but we just haven't seen them yet.
When you call 911 and you're told it might be 20, 30 minutes, it's scary. Chief, thank you for everything you do. And, well, anything else?
Did you want to bring a siren, or you just referring?
I'm referring to the infamous town fire sirens to committee tonight.
Okay.
What is that for?
We had I don't mind, well, we could do it now. We had a situation last Sunday morning where the fire siren through Nottaway was activated an hour before it's supposed to. On the weekends, you're only supposed to activate the fire siren between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. if there's a fire. There was a report at 8 o'clock in the morning of smoke at West Entrance Road and Maple Lane. It was fog. And some people who live near the siren were, I got an email at 8:02 a.m. Thank you very much for waking up everybody. And they were aware of the protocol, and protocol wasn't followed. So I guess maybe maybe we don't need to go to committee and just maybe remind
I think we
Nottaway.
just should remind Nottaway.
Of the protocol.
Plain and simple, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a need to bog down a committee. For
I would agree. Good call. Good call.
And like I said in the email response, we had 3 calls today, and they never set it off. So,
I wondered about that. Yeah, the call today, I was like, where's the siren?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like it's overutilized by any means. It's underutilized of what it should be.
So we just need to reinstate the
I
policy.
think a call to the sheriff
Would take
take
care of
a,
it, yeah.
Okay. You want to call 41? You go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
I call them. I bug them all the time. Thanks, Chief. All right. Moving right along, we have, let's see, we did payment of bills. I've kind of got out of order here. We got committee reports. We have one committee, the ever-busy Buildings, Property, and Cemetery Committee.
Yeah, thank you. We met on the 23rd. The Hometown Heroes banners, we really like the project, but we felt there wasn't enough time, so we've asked we would want to table this until January 2020. We have more time to get the applications out to the people who need to get them. C Park, Phil, could you please talk to us about the buildings?
There's 6 total buildings in the park. Only 4 were moved. The other 2, I think, are a little too big. for us to move them, or excuse me, one of them was too big, and the other one, I think the committee members felt like it was in good enough condition to leave it there. And so-
Is that the one in the back of the park with the water wheel?
Or the water wheel on it. So there's 4 of them that have been carried up to the town shop, and they are truly in bad shape. All right, rot and bad roofs and all that sort of thing. Luckily, one of our engaged residents or business people here in town offered up his Boy Scout troop to assist with the repairs. And I met today at 5 o'clock with Cody Long, who's a Boy Scout, who's looking for an Eagle Scout project. There's still some machinations that have to happen in order for him to get his Boy Scout Council to approve the project and that sort of thing. But what we're shooting for is to have the houses back, unless council tells us different, by the glaring illumination renovated. And I think these 4 are smaller. These are like sheds more than they are really buildings. And we'll put them inside one of the bays so that the Boy Scout troop, because he's allowed to bring the other ones, and we'll segregate it in one of the bays at the bus stop so they can come in the evenings. Because I think as we get later in the fall, we're gonna lose daylight. So
Yep, you're on.
letting the kids work up there at the bus shop, and it'll have electricity available, it'll have all that. I have committed the town to providing the paint and the
So
roof
can we
shingles,
provide materials?
the materials that need to go. A couple of them are in pretty bad shape, and if you guys wanna go take a look at them, some of them are structurally pretty good, but the vinyl siding would beat off the side of them or things like that. So I think we're gonna have 4 well-renovated buildings if for some reason his schedule doesn't permit, or he decides ultimately he doesn't wanna do that, the town's still gonna have them ready for him.
Grand illumination on the 29th, and obviously, I know that, like, for example, the Blackstone primary gifted talented kids do one of those sheds. It'd be nice to get them in there a couple weeks so they can maybe decorate them.
Do the best we can
Yep.
to get them in there, and,
Keep it on the forefront because it's not far away. So-
Jenny Bunn, the chair of the Sea Park, wants to be an active
there you go.
member of helping with design on the colors and designs of the renovations. So we want to keep her in part of the loop with this.
If I may also talk about the shed, is that okay with you to?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. There is a shed in Sea Park that, not this council, but the council previous voted to allow the Friends of the Library to put in Sea Park. It's attractive, prefabricated shed that sits to the rear, close to the line with the Baptist church in that back corner. An adjacent property owner has been complaining about people loitering, people hanging out, and it sits about 5 feet off the fence line, and it makes a perfect place where somebody can hide. And I think that there's been concerns more recently about somebody using the bathroom back there and leaving trash and all the above things. Christine and I had a conference call with I assume she's the president of the Friends of the Library or the director, Ms. Sarah Gilmore, and we talked a little bit, and I think they'd like to leave the shed in the park. They prefer to leave it where it is, okay? But the town zoning ordinance does require a separation off the property line of 5 feet. There was some discussion about shoving it up against the fence so people couldn't get behind it. So I think what we came up with today was just to try to find a way to fence it off somehow and create a barrier so people can't get back there. And with a chain link fence, or let the guys build a board fence. I do think it needs some kind of a gate, so it'll be a likely depository for beer cans or something like that. So we need to have access to it and have it locked and that sort of thing. Okay, so unless council has other wishes, I think a fence is what we kind of came up with today in order to leave the shed where it was and not move it. Putting up a board fence
And
and,
you've seen where the gate is for the adjoining property
Yes,
owner?
ma'am.
And is that that's not gonna interfere with the fence?
it can't, because the gate at the property owner that lives on Oak Street, that gate was put in because the gas company that services the fuel tanks uses it as the access point to get in the back. And I've assured her that we had no intention of blocking it or anything. But we'll make sure, again, and Chief has talked to the property owner, and I think a fence is really, after exhausting the other solutions of moving the building or sliding it up against the fence, and trying to keep with the Friends of the Library's wishes, I think a fence of some sort, a board fence to keep everybody out.
You want to agree by common consent, or you want a motion?
Do any police patrols go through there at night?
Yeah, they do, yeah. Now, there was some question, the Baptist church put up a little section of chain link fence, and you can't well see around it. Now, there was some consternation about the town not doing anything about these folks loitering back there, but that's the reason why we have those no trespassing signs up there. I carried Tony Maton out, the I guess, the time before, when the property owner complained about people hanging out back there and making a mess. And Tony said, well, I have caught one person back there, so I suspect it may very well be the same person. Somebody was back there drinking beers and carrying on. He said, but please post some no trespassing signs, so as a police officer, I can go back there and I can charge somebody for being, that's why the ugly signs are
Okay,
on the
I
shed.
wonder, okay, all right.
Was at the request
I
of
heard
the
about
police.
that as well, okay, all right.
I'm sure everybody heard about it, but that was the purpose, is to work with the police department so they could charge them.
While I was on the phone with the property owner, she was in her backyard, and there was somebody going back in the back of that building, and she said something to that person while I was on the phone with her, so.
Gosh.
Fencing it, I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and approve to fence that off. And I'd also like to add having a porta-john placed in the park. If it's a problem, this may help eliminate that also.
What's that cost, about 75 a month, something like that? That's a good motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We'll give it a second to Ms. Jones. Just try to put the porta-john, I wouldn't put, don't put it in the middle, don't put it in the middle of the gazebo. Don't-
We'll put garland around the.
All right, just try to find a good place for the porta-john. We'll let, confer with C Park, please.
We'll ask for a tasteful color.
Yes. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. You just never know what's going to happen in a small town. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Town Manager. Any other, get some other recommendations, Ms. Hasbrook?
We have really nothing else to bring to the
Okay.
committee
Okay,
this time.
just informational. All right, very good. Moving right along, we have consent agenda. There are two interesting events. We have a night of worship planned for Friday, October 25th. It's a young man who grew up here. He has a church in Chesterfield. They want to have an event in the town square. I believe it's from, it'll end at 10, obviously, but they want to have music from 7:30 to 9:30. It's a religious gathering, no alcohol, just informational. And then the other one is the annual Harris Fitzgerald Street reunion, which I enjoy. That'll be the day of our retreat. But our retreat will end around 3 or so we'll swing out there.
Move to approve both as presented with proper notification of the neighbors for Harris Fitzgerald Street, because we have had,
I would add that you have to waive the noise ordinance. That's
For
the
both
reason.
requests.
Typically, that would just go through as no alcohol, and
Correct.
Right.
because of the
Waive the
noise
noise
ordinance, that
and
if they can.
just notify the neighbors, we had some complaints of closing the street on Second,
Third Street.
and neighbors not being notified last
I
week,
have a
week
question
before last.
about the church event. No portable facilities will be available. Is that gonna be a problem for those 2 hours with having a bunch of people there and not having a porta-john or something provided by
I
the
think
group?
if you're gonna have 100 people there, you need a porta john.
Isn't there a porta-john there at the square?
Only for events.
Only for during
There
events?
now, I think it's periodic.
Yeah.
And the people putting on the events, they provide the porta-johns.
Yeah, I would hate to, yeah, and you know, is there any dialogue with the neighbor? I mean, that is a busy restaurant on Friday nights next door. I mean, I guess it's just,
If it meets with the council, I can put a porta john out there. When I get one for C Park, I can put a second one in the back of the town square.
Well, I mean, not trying to, it should be at their expense.
At their,
Yes.
yeah, I agree.
And you can amend my motion to state that.
All right, so the motion is to, who made the motion?
I did.
Mr. Nash has made the motion to approve both requests, which includes waiving the noise ordinance and also conferring with neighbors and adding a porta-john at the church's expense for the October 25th event in the square. So, y'all see Miss Beverly Ames?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are they gonna be required to have, the GL insurance for this, for both of those?
What is the answer to that question? Great question. Insurance is,
If they're serving food, they have to also meet GL standards for that. Since I've just gone through all of that.
well, they're just having a night of worship. I think it's sort of a night of praise. I don't know if they're serving food or not. I didn't see
No
that in.
food,
No food.
no alcohol.
But what is the question of the insurance? Are they don't need a TULIP policy because they're not doing
I
alcohol?
believe it's the same we stated last meeting with the cruise-ins. They're good things for the community. They're not in a building located in Blackstone. They're in a public park. So be it.
specifically waive it, yeah.
Yes.
Typically, if it were like an organized event, like an organization, we would require the policy. That
Right.
is part of the rules and regulation, but if council's agreeable, and like you said, it's like a cruise.
Is there gonna be a bouncy house or anything, any kind of thing like that? That would be my only concern, is to have insurance for those kind of.
There's no known neglect on our behalf that our insurance wouldn't back us as my.
All right. Who seconded the motion?
I will.
All right, Ms. Hasbrook seconded the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move right along to unfinished business. You have your consent agenda for the October 5th retreat. That starts at 9 o'clock. There is an Alzheimer's Awareness 5K event that morning at 8:30, so I might participate in that, but I'll be there at 9 o'clock.
You can run all the way up.
I'm gonna try, but
That's fast.
I'm gonna try. And I want to commend staff and Ms. Hasbrook for the challenge. We've all been asked to outline our 5 and 10-year vision for Blackstone, and we come to that meeting to also have a solution or goal for each of our objectives. And is the council okay with the agenda? This is your chance to correct or add to the agenda. Hearing none, we're good to go on Saturday, October 5th. The public's invited. If the public's there, and it's nothing secret about it, only stipulation we have is they will be submitted. If you have a question or comment, you'll do it on a written card and give it to the moderator. And that way, council can kind of have a free flow of ideas. And first time we've ever done this in Blackstone. Moving right along, you have a new rental property maintenance ordinance. It's been amended or tweaked.
I will ask
Yeah.
Attorney Bacon and Yvonne to explain to you that which may be modified.
Yeah, what's the main highlight? What's the gist of this to the 520 units? What's this mean for me? And I own 0 units.
And we may need Yvonne up here too, just to answer any questions that you all may have, not on the legal side of it. So, just in terms of it since the last meeting, I don't necessarily think that much has been altered in terms of substantive things. It's just really minor changes that the building code inspector wanted to make. So, for example, changing like property maintenance, just changing his name as it's called and things like that. But I don't know that there was that much of a change. And then I know that, and Yvonne may have more insight behind this. I know last time at the meeting, the issue was raised about when exactly the building inspector could and couldn't come in, and, the issue was between the, how long it would take to re-inspect it, but I know that was addressed with the building council. Fine, if you want to discuss that.
Like Ms. Bacon said, nothing really has been changed dramatically with this ordinance. The main thing that we were trying to make sure is that we were going by the correct code. So that edition of the 2015 year is the current code book that we're actually using. So that was one of the main things. So we really didn't change anything of what you all have already approved.
Have we named in the last page of the ordinance, it talks about the town of Blackstone appeals board policy, and I should know this. Do we have an appeals board yet? Do we agree we're going to designate somebody for
Do we
that?
plan on using the planning
We
commission?
had asked.
Yes.
Planning commission, that's right.
Pardon?
We'd hope to,
We
yeah.
hope to use planning commission.
Okay, so that'll be our first request. We'll ask them. Okay. If not, then we'll come back to us and we'll appoint. Okay.
If they are not too enthusiastic.
But, and I will say with that, there is some guidance in the building code kind of handbooks and building code regulations about who exactly is supposed to be on the appeals board. So, we may want to, look into that further, because they do suggest at least that people from specific positions be on it. So like, for example, a general contractor needs to be on it, and it's a whole different list of things.
But not the planning commission.
Maybe not, yeah. We've got to turn, yeah, that's true.
Not.
Okay, well then, the main thing, I guess the main question for you tonight, members of council, is to adopt the ordinance as presented, as amended.
And my understanding was from last time, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, that we had already adopted the map that went with the rental inspection ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so tonight then it would just be the ordinance and then also the appeals board policy, which is attached to the ordinance as well.
I entertain a motion to adopt.
Right, yes.
So,
Mr. Morgan has moved. Is there a second? Second. Ms. Thompson has seconded. This has been a long time coming. Yvonne, thank you for everything you've done. Tessie, this is, and I noticed later in your package, you'll see where I think about 29 units have been inspected, and I think 25 have passed, or something like that. That's good to know. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, carries 7-0.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Yes, ongoing projects, dilapidated buildings, 405 Tavern Street.
That is our next victim, and it is in Phase 1 of the East End project, so the abatement is eligible for reimbursement. It's currently owned by Mr. Hill, and it's in bad shape if you hadn't looked at it. We do have an asbestos report on it, and it's very well covered in asbestos transite siding. So there's going to be an appreciable expense, but that should be reimbursable by East End. Beth and John have agreed in writing on an indemnity agreement that the town would have the building demolished as part of the project for East End, and they signed an indemnity agreement to that effect.
Just gonna be leveled, not gonna be anything rebuilt?
Not at this time. Nothing
Okay.
planned to be rebuilt, but it's kind of an eyesore. It's pretty bad.
Do you need approval to proceed with, okay, just informational?
Feel like you do.
All right. Meals tax, you got someone, one establishment, is that reported? Is that correct? Really? Okay. We always see, it's always one every month, but when you think of the restaurants we have, it's not bad.
So
Okay, all right.
when is the next time frame they have to meet?
So the last payment received was August 15th, and that was for the June meals tax. The July meals tax is due August 20th, and we still have not received a payment.
Well,
The
are we,
next meals tax is due in a couple days.
Yeah, 20th. So always do the 20th.
well, I think we need to pursue with whatever we need to do at this point.
Yeah. Because
So
the one thing,
tomorrow morning, we need to, tomorrow morning,
We
just,
usually get good response if staff goes and visits the restaurant,
Right.
and
yeah, but sometimes you
it didn't
can't.
happen.
Yeah, sometimes you can't do it so much.
right.
It-
But it is money that customers paid, is held in trust for the town. It should be paid on a timely basis.
What's been done in the past?
Oh, everything. Huddle House, did we ever get made whole by Huddle House?
I
The
think that's still outstanding.
the previous Huddle House,
Yeah, not this one.
about $2,000.
Yeah,
We
it's
stuck,
still in bankruptcy.
yeah, right. They had a shell, it was a different, it was a company that owned the H2O Hospitality was,
Do we have a formal policy in place stating, all right, if your X amount of days pass, this is what happens, if you're, then you get notice, and then after that, you have how many days?
So if, I usually send letters on the 21st or 22nd, depending on how it falls. You can first certify a letter to pay in 10 days. If you hadn't paid in 10 days, you get a hand-delivered letter stating to pay by 5 p.m. that day, and then it comes to you all.
so that establishment's gotten both. They've got,
So tomorrow morning, do you need a motion from the seven of us up here?
council
that
speaks to
tomorrow
its
morning
motions.
We enforce the next step, which would be what?
I think the letter states it's a class 1
It's a,
misdemeanor.
that is correct.
You will refer to Tessie then.
They're repeat offenders, so Tessie has already sent them a letter from her certified
I
city.
think, to
This
be
is
honest,
how
law
you do
goes
it,
next.
so.
Yeah, I think the way to stay fair on this is to stay rigid.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying,
Right.
we need to stay
You'll be
firm
referred to
with,
Tessie next.
Yeah, and I'll re-look at what you've done currently and take whatever next step needs to be done.
Because where we get in trouble is when it gets to that limbo period where so-and-so's always late, then all of a sudden they're 2-3 months late, and that's
well, it
just,
sounds like they're more than just
Yeah.
1 month late
Right.
either. Because they're due another one pretty soon, so.
yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. All right, do you want to make I think staff has directive.
Okay.
Moving right along to street improvement projects number 3. This is the big, potential revenue share project from 8th Street to Walmart curb and gutter sidewalk.
1.6 million, our expectation would be apply for a 50/50 revenue share project, which would, if approved, obligate the town about $800,000. I do think, and Jason Walker thinks, and we met together, that we can phase this and spend less than $800,000 of local monies to do it, but it'll take multiple years.
But in other words, what you're saying is VDOT's administration fees are so high, we can direct contract with a local person that we know. Of course, we got to go through procurement.
You read the
Well,
VDOT
yeah, it's just, I mean, my goodness, it's so many line items, it's like a federal budget.
Review fee for VDOT is $42,000. Don't the taxpayers pay enough for?
Yeah,
Review
that's
fee?
sort of insane.
I would prefer to give it a shot, maybe do it in 2 sections or 3 sections, and maybe get to O'Reilly the first year, and then get from O'Reilly to Fair Street, and then do the last section, and try to do it over the course of 2 or 3 years.
The only I love this project. The only thing that concerns me is, and Philip said it at a meeting, I'd hate to spend all this money and build the nicest sidewalk on the west side of the street, and then you ride and look at the nice sidewalk and you see the people still taking the point of the shortest distance to Walmart.
Which is the east side. That's where everybody wants.
I just think that would be a bad optics for this council.
You spend $1 million and next thing you know, you've got
Sidewalk to nowhere.
everybody walking down the other
As
side.
long as you make it user-friendly for the pedestrian at the intersection up at Walmart, I think it will be used. And if you don't make it user-friendly, then people will continue to walk on the garden center side of the road.
What's the standard width of a sidewalk? 5 feet?
5 feet.
I'd like to think big out there. I like to think big. They got that guy in that Mr. Tanner, Larry Tanner,
Oh, yeah.
who over there on Church Street. He's amazing. But what do you want from council tonight? To not do the revenue share application?
Not do the application. I think we can do less than $800,000. And we, the town, has to fund it in 3 years. Okay? If we sign an agreement, let's just say it's all approved in January 1, well, we've got till December 31st, 3 years forward to fully fund it. We've already got a revenue share project that we still have to fund that's due to be bid out that next summer, which goes from the nursing home on 6th Street down to 8th Street.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And we haven't funded that one yet.
How much is that?
$458,000.
2 blocks, $458,000. And what side of the street is that on? Both or just?
Oh, it's a tremendous culvert under the road right there.
What side of the street is that one on? Is that?
That really is the middle of the street, and we'll finish the sidewalk down to 8th Street,
In front of Jerome's
in
building.
front of Jerome's building, and then if you look in front of the Catholic Church, there's some pretty rough-looking sidewalk there that would be replaced as all.
Yep.
But this is mostly drainage. This is a big culvert, 60-inch culvert that goes under the road that used to convey the creek that comes from 4th Street.
It's the start of Long Branch Creek.
Yeah,
that
that's
runs all
right.
the way out to the reservoir.
And when the nursing home was constructed, late
77.
70s, they rerouted that culvert, and the culvert is separated now. And that's the reason for the,
So you like that project because that's something that really no one local can do, and we need the expertise and the big boys to come in here and.
in that project, we would also finish the sidewalk, because there's very little sidewalk left to do on the block from 8th to 10th. If you look in front of Mr. Eaton's house and where Kyle Houtz owns that 2-story home, it's sidewalk, no sidewalk, sidewalk, no sidewalk. And we would finish the sidewalk on that side in that phase and then repave from 10th Street back to 6th Street. If you notice, I did some kind of ugly lane paving this
That's
year.
okay.
Just to get us through until that project redoes the whole thing. And it was just a 2-inch overlay. So I would say, let's pass on it, $800,000 in 3 years. If a fire truck and the next phase of revenue share, I think maybe we can squeeze perhaps a block a year and get that done slowly but surely at less than $800,000 that we would be.
But new sidewalks between 8th and 10th, I think, are also good. And also, we have a historic marker that's going to be hopefully coming to that area. A nice fresh sidewalk would be nice there. All right, so no actions needed by council. Okay. Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Wrigglesworth Sports Complex, the sidewalk and curb and gutter.
Been awarded to SWCI, Jason Walker. There were 2 bids on it. I think we reported last month, and you were awarded. All paperwork has been signed. He can start at his leisure, but his time, his days don't start for some period yet. I wanted him to finish East End. He's still got 8 or 9 blocks over on East End to do before he gets to go over there. So our expectation is hopefully asphalt will hit the ground before T-ball season, and that's our plan.
Beautiful. The utility upgrade project, that should be done by October 27th, which is a month away.
They're working on the booster station, which is located at the, on 10th Street. If you remember with Nottaway County, LRA gave us a small piece of property to build that booster station. That'll be going in. Sadly, we did have a change order there, an expensive change order, $68,000. We don't, our expectations were, we have 2 generators there that serve Building 305 and another pump station at Pickett, and we were gonna try to use the 2 of those. They're not big enough to run the booster station, so, $68,000 to put a 150 kV generator on there. And,
Does that come from our pocket, or can you go back and ask for additional funds for that? Tobacco.
This is water. The tobacco was purely on the sewer side of the wastewater plant. This will be our funds. And I authorize going ahead and let you guys know, a big boy like that, we need to put a generator on there.
I agree. And of course, Nottaway Commons is uncommonly quiet still.
Crickets, yeah.
I've heard a rumor that it's up for sale.
I've heard the same thing. Do you think that's Have you heard that as well?
I've heard other people who have inquired about the availability of their property tell me a price has been quoted to them.
Okay.
I don't think it's been listed on the market or anything.
But there's nothing to indicate that all of a sudden the town crews are gonna be starting to provide service to that site.
I haven't heard anything since our last council meeting when we talked about the sewer availability and construction. That was the last I heard of this.
Been a lot of time.
Yeah, we sure did. We had quite a few, we had a big powwow at Pickett, some debates, and all for naught, it looks like. All right, good work on that. You need to approve this change order? You don't,
If you'd like,
maybe when we get a written invoice.
I'll bring it to you.
Yeah,
How's
that'd be
that?
fine. East End neighborhood, going along well, the improvement project grant.
2 houses are started, water and sewer is complete. They're still adjusting the sewer cleanouts and the water meters and that sort of thing. Abandoning the old sewer manholes. If you notice, there's some framing covers laying on the side of the road. We don't abandon the pipe, we abandon the manholes. We take basically bags of Quikrete and push it up in the line and then fill up the manhole with gravel and that sort of thing. So they've been working on that the past few days, and now most of their crew is located out there at Fort Pickett, okay?
On Tavern Street, if I could just, Miss Teresa Adams has had some issues with, there was some trees knocked out, remember,
Yeah, I can't find a Teresa Adams. I don't know how. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong place.
if you're going down Tavern Street, it's on the left, it's like 301 Tavern, I believe.
It's owned by Bitsy Irby.
Okay, maybe it's, okay.
If it's 301, the
Yes,
first
that's-
house behind the armory.
Yes.
And yes, it needs to be cleaned up, it needs to be dressed up, and they're still working on it. If it's a priority, and I did see some.
I'm getting
mail.
quite a bit of,
I saw a lot of traffic
correspondence.
there. Maybe I can get the contractor to focus on that. Betsy has been to see me about it.
Okay, good, all right. You need, now, I would notice that the rehab, board is requesting council to approval to apply for phase 2 of this grant. Do we need to do that tonight?
I think we do. I think that the applications are due.
September 3rd.
Let's do it, Mr.
I'd like to
Board
make
A's here.
I'd like to make a motion that we apply for the DHCD grant for phase 2.
All right. Ms. Thompson has seconded Mr. Miller's motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. What grade, have you been pleased with the progress and everything overall?
The utility's been going good. I like Jason. Hopefully, Jason can commit himself and stay on there and get it done. The yards are muddy and they look bad, and we
I will
really
say
would like to
that
finish.
the contractor we haven't seemed slow to begin with.
He put in 3 blocks so far.
Not Jason, the other contractor seems slow.
But I say the guy that's building those houses, hey, clockwork.
Yeah.
Clockwork. The house that's being built beside me, you know, he's probably way ahead of schedule because he told me that he's gonna put the sidings up tomorrow. And I just left him, so.
That's Shirley Hardy's house down there on Broad Street, and they were putting the floor down today.
Yeah,
The foundation.
yeah, and they're going to Trey Shell's house tomorrow. And, because the block couldn't get there, so.
They're gonna put the block in tomorrow.
Bring the block in tomorrow.
Okay. Yvonne, you want to address on the rental property, or?
Still just on East End.
Yes.
Yes. And I just wanted to make it clear that we're applying for the planning grant for phase 2. And then we'll also plan to apply for the grant in March of next year. Okay.
Very good.
Also, we are hosting a financial literacy workshop. This is one of the activities that is required by the grant. So we'll plan to have that October the 19th. And I do have flyers here if anybody is interested in participating. One of the things that we're definitely doing is reaching out to everyone who has received funding for their housing, whether it was weatherization, the East End grant, Church Street. Everybody's receiving the information first because we're trying to help people to make sure that they can maintain financially for what they already have done, and also to encourage people who want to become homeowners. So those are our goals with that.
Cost us $30. Is there no way that in the weatherization fund that we can, especially for those that we're building houses for, we can't foot that?
No, we actually have slots available, so the ones that I mentioned, they're not,
Cost. Okay.
right.
I want to make
And,
sure it's accessible to anybody
Right.
that really needs it. So.
yes, and the $30 is even for the household, so it's, if it's a husband and wife, they can come for that cost as well.
Very good. That's October 19th from 10 to 4 at Life Changing Community Center.
Yes, yes, sir. All right, and we have we will have the other 4 homes that have already been approved. We should have those inspected and have our bids done within the next 30 days.
I've had some questions. When is the Arms house going to begin? I know it's been demolished. When,
We've issued a building permit for it.
Not two down, did there? There was two of them that were not down.
Yeah, we took the houses down and the county has issued a building permit. He does have a period of time to get the work done, but I can find out from the contractor, I can call him, and, when you're gonna start. And, if you notice, we leveled off some dirt, some waste dirt that was left over from the sewer project, and so we tried to raise up Phillips Yard a little bit to try to make it a little more level, and, I just don't know when he's planning on starting, but I can find out.
but he's within his time.
Oh, yeah, he isn't, he doesn't have a beginning date, he's just got a finish date. He's gotta be done by.
That's fine.
And the other 4 houses that Yvonne discussed or just spoke of, the rehab board did approve doing the inspections and getting ready to bid out 100 Viewbank Street, 500 Tavern Street, 108 Viewbank Street, and 403 Broad Street.
Refresh my memory, generally speaking, if a citizen of Blackstone were to ask, how big is this grant project and how many homes have been repaired / or built from scratch? It's like a $2.1 million project, isn't it?
We borrowed 1.5,
Okay,
okay, and we received a grant for 1.25.
so, okay.
So you're 2.728 there, and
How many
down
homes?
some houses, so you can include those costs and all that sort of thing. So I don't think telling somebody a $300,000 grant, because we're gonna have to do a lot of paving too, that's outside the project. So I think $3 million is probably not out of the question. Now, we've saved our VDOT money. If you guys remember, we do it by ward. We do our tar and gravel project by ward, and we saved Mr. Miller's ward, then Mr. Tucker's ward for last, knowing that we were gonna tear the roads all to the
East
devil.
End, right.
Now, the contractor is responsible doing some of that tar and gravel, okay? But we don't want just tar and gravel strips. We want to do the entire section, so we're gonna have some costs associated. We've saved up about $290,000 to this point of our VDOT checks every quarter to specifically work on the east end after everybody's done.
So, basically right now for the wintertime, you know, it's too late to do a whole lot of paving, so we're just gonna try to take
We paved
We're gonna
before.
pave it before it gets cold. We've got a contract in place already with Landco Paving.
But we're waiting for the curbing and guttering, right?
Curb and gutter's gonna be fine.
But basically, a $3 million grant project, and roughly, how many households are being improved or rebuilt, roughly?
Yvonne, do you have a number? She looked like she's ciphering.
I'm just, basically, it's the largest housing improvement grant this town's ever undertaken, I believe.
If I remember correctly, there's 73 houses in the 2 project areas.
Right,
Some of those are not eligible because of income.
Right.
But I think it's 73 total homes in the
it's a
neighborhood.
vast project.
And we're
2 phases.
redoing water lines and sewer lines to most, all of them.
Right.
To all of them,
Yeah, and we've run the sewer lines and water lines.
Good. Looking ahead, I know we're still gonna do phase 2 East End, you know, in your 5-year crystal ball, where might the next housing, you know, we've sort of done this for the last 25 years around Blackstone, where might the next area be?
If I have a crystal ball, it'd be on the north end of town in Sheila's district. Would probably be the next logical place. I think Church Street was in Barbara's district.
Right.
East End and Mr. Miller's district. Not saying it's just for black districts or primarily
No,
black
just-
districts, but the next logical place would be on the north end of town, Stokes Division, Center Street, that area. But I think it's gonna take something more creative there. I think we discussed a little bit with you guys.
Fewer homes. It's not much.
They're not
It's a-
density- there's
and
not
it's
the density.
spread out.
Right.
And we've got a lot of vacant lots there. I think it may be more of a home ownership like you did at
We did-
Castle Trailer Park.
Yep, and Irvin Street too, didn't we? Did we do some, no, it was a Castle, that's right,
I
Castle.
think that's gonna be more logically, that project, it's just not a big neighborhood. But I think if you were to include North Center Street and South Center Street, you know, Barco Road divides the two. We did Taylor's Bottom several years ago, 20 years ago. And we could probably revisit some structures over there, but I think that would be the next logical, maybe include some of Northwest Avenue.
Yeah,
into that
Gateway to
project.
Black, yeah, that would be, you know, that would be something to be nice if we could, I know years ago they were talking about putting streetlights out there or some sort of shrubbery to, so when people come off 460, they realize, hey, oh, keep going, there's a town here.
So I think Northwest Avenue, Center, Stoke, because there's just not that many houses on Centers and Stroke Street.
Right.
But I think between Scott, Division, all those streets together, and a little different, maybe not just so much on the individual housing, but maybe doing home ownership opportunities. Remember, we talked about this pilot program with VHDA where manufactured homes may be permissible. That may be a less expensive option for some folks. And I think it's gonna take a little bit more thinking cap than just a traditional water and sewer and
But that's good, that's a testament to the fact that we have attacked a lot of our issues in the denser populated neighborhoods. Moving right along, we've got, update on the rental property ordinance. It looks like, we've had yes, Mr. Taylor.
On that phase 2, about water and sewer, Harris Street be connected to River, who is excluded on that phase?
My recollection is Harris Street is definitely one of the first parts of phase 2.
It is phase 2. That, Fitzgerald Street and a portion of Dillard Street, for the most part.
All right, very good. We have in your packet the rental property maintenance program so far. There have been 24 inspections that have passed. 9 are remaining to be re-inspected. Is that going okay? Going well? All right. Weatherization number 8, there's nothing to report. Comprehensive plan, that's going to be a spring issue before spring turkey season.
Spring gobbler.
Under new business, you have and I can't figure this out, we have a report from the State Corporation Commission about a change in the consumption tax. What's going on with that?
Well, I don't know that much about it, but the state code does dictate the rates, and I think those rates may be modified, and the General Assembly apparently has modified those rates. So, but these rates go into effect in January, so it's not a budget process necessarily. I think it's prior to that, and we'll be bringing it hopefully to the Finance Committee, and all learn more about what our obligations are and what we need to be doing.
This is on your electrical bill.
Primarily on the electric, yes.
Is it increase? Is it
Yeah,
increase?
it's an increase, but looking at it, what, could you say it's gonna be an increase in tax-wise to the citizens?
I hate to do that because I don't want to start
I'm putting you
a
on the spot.
stampede there.
It'd be nice to say what the average light bill, we see a $1 or
We'll do that.
50-cent
We'll do that
increase.
during committee.
It's really, really small. We're talking 12 1/1000ths of a penny for the first 2,500 kilowatt hours.
It's a pass-through,
Right.
not the town of Blackstone's tax.
Correct. All right, moving right along to the East End resolution. This is I guess a boilerplate resolution, is it not?
It is, and what it is we have a developer who has interest in developing workforce housing at the old VFW property, and the financing plan at this time would include VHDA funding. VHDA Virginia Housing Development Authority, does request that this resolution, placing it in a rehabilitation zone, would allow him to apply for grant money, or not grant money, but favorable loan terms. I think that the low interest and shorter terms perhaps. There's no financial commitment to the town, and what I would propose is as rehab area encompass East End Phase 1 and Phase 2, and then we add the VFW property to that, and that would be the map attached, and
What sort of housing is he, whoever it is?
Yeah, what's workforce housing? What's that?
workforce housing is focused not necessarily on low income, it's not necessarily on high income, but it's in between for places for police, fire, school teachers, those kinds of middle range homes. He's proposed 2 types of housing there. One would be an apartment, one-bedroom apartment, very similar to what's on Second Street, and then a potential for some townhouses as well.
Would this need to go to the planning commission first? Can council do this by statute without having to have planning commission involvement?
Yeah, I don't think this is necessarily a planning commission action. I think
Okay.
it's the town council.
We're dedicating, though, we're designating an area as a rehab area with different housing specs. Is that correct?
No.
Not.
It's still within the zone.
It's already, his property's already zoned R3.
Okay, that's right. We rezoned. It used to be owned by the bank.
It was owned by the bank, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So the zoning is done, this just allows him to access some
Sounds
Low
good.
interest money.
Sounds good. What is council's pleasure?
I move to designate the old VFW property as,
and the Phase 1 and 2 of East End.
and the Phase 1 and 2 of East End as rehab areas.
All right. Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion?
Second.
Ms. Thompson is seconded. Any further discussion? You believe this will facilitate some?
I think it will. I think it will.
All in favor, I ask for, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. You have a lot on Dillard Street of interest, Mr. Town Manager.
As much as anything, maybe you guys remember some history. This is the old Levi Strauss playground property. Tessie did a title search, gosh, you look at that thing, it's probably a year old. Tessie did a title search on it, and the town owns some property over there. And I really hadn't done anything with it, who owns it, and I think there was a question, and Jennifer Daniel got the title search done, and it came back owned by the town of Blackstone. I would like to figure out exactly what it is the town owns over there, and I couldn't decipher it from the description. You called me earlier, and I was like,
How many feet of
man,
road
what is
frontage
that? So I think we got some work to do to figure out what it is exactly the town owns over there, size-wise, because it has a description that shows a bulk, less than accept, less than accept, less than accept on it. So I think we need to figure out exactly what it is we own, and if it's council's wishes, then dispose of it. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
originally it was 3.43 acres, but then it says
Yeah, it's
that
not that
they
anymore.
conveyed a certain amount to Episcopal Church and another to Dooley.
It says being the same property that were conveyed to the town, I think by some Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
The playground, if I recall, and I was a kid, I remember it was some trade-off where the town actually did that for the Levi employees. I want to say I recall kids of employees, and one time they had 300 people working there, there'd be a place for the kids to go when mom and dad worked and finished working. That's my recollection, but I mean,
Across from Levi?
yes, sir.
Yeah, that was, Levi provided that for the people who work there.
Levi provided. Okay,
When they shut it down, they just closed everything.
okay, interesting. So you gonna do a survey?
Yeah, do some research, work with Tessie, and figure out exactly what it is we own, and if it's a fly speck and not worth our time, that'd be one thing, but if it has any merit for somebody that could build a house or do something with it,
Yep.
then we can.
Common consent, y'all agree with the town manager's direction? All right, very good. Moving right along to item number 4, which is we need to reappoint our dedicated Board of Zoning Appeals members and their hefty salaries. It's basically Myra, Monica, Michael, Sally, and Coco. Isn't that right?
And I think she's just awaiting a response from those folks to make sure that they still want to serve. And Jennifer's out this week, so it may take another week. And if they all agree to serve, so we don't have to revisit this, that would be acceptable to council to move forward.
Sounds like a motion.
Pending confirmation from the 5, I request that we submit to the circuit court for approval.
So,
Motion's been made and second. Mr. Bagley, you okay with that? You look,
Yes, I am.
all right?
But I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The 22,000 that's supposed to be saved from the pink slip, have that been earmarked for something?
You want that for your salary, don't you?
Can't blame him trying.
what 22,000?
But has it been earmarked?
Refresh my memory of the 22,000 for the pink slip. I'm drawing a blank here.
It's instead of paying an employee to go deliver them.
Oh, come November, we're gonna quit the physical pink slip.
Yeah, he was joking.
Yes.
Obviously.
Well, no, I think he's serious. But the money is the.
I'll take it, but of course I will. I just want to know, where is it going to go? What it's going to be?